Hello everyone, this is Flemmy, and welcome back to another episode of my Let's Play. So we are here with Season 4, Episode 23. So in the last video, we had a massive resource raid, so go check that out if you're interested. We actually don't have that many resources now, because I was really low before that, so we're going to keep attacking. We have one worker finishing up in under an hour, so hopefully we can find some enough resources to give us some options. Right now it's either looking like 400,000 gold cannon, or an 800,000 cannon, or 720,000 elixir or gold archer tower. Wow, I'm really having trouble talking today. Okay, this is a good one to at least raid for sure. Heavy resources in the storages, or in the collectors and mines, once again on the hard to talk theme. I'm definitely going to attack this guy for resources at least. I think I'm only going to use infantry, though, to attack. This should be fairly effective. I might decide to use like a goblin or something, or a giant or something later for distraction purposes, but at the beginning I think we can get away with just picking off that. We can't pick off anything else here other than the workers' huts to clear them out, so I'll do that. Both of those need to go. Those two for good measure. All of these guys will, once we get them out of the way, it will be much easier to attack into the storages in the center. Or the collectors. Wow, I think this is like the most misspeaks I've ever had as a per misspeak basis. Oh, I meant to switch to archers, so misspeaks and misclicks. After my glorious raid last time, this is not doing very hot. That's fine. I don't need the last bit of that elixir. It's mainly the gold I'm interested in, and 4 gold mines are down here, and 1's up in that corner. We might miss out on that one in the corner. I'll need to think about if it's actually worth it. Okay, first deploy this as distraction, then deploy the goblins for collection, and then archers. Especially heavily archers on the top here, because there's one behind the walls. And this should leave us, so we are at 720, or nearly 200, so this should get us 5/6 of that, I believe. It looks like there's some in the storages as well. But this should get us most of it, at least. So, and for the cost of the infantry only, I think it's just fine. We could attack into these elixir pumps down here. Finally called them the right name. But I think I'll pass on that. I think I'll also pass on this up here. I could do it, but I could do it with the archers that I have and the ones in the clan castle for sure. But I think just cost effectiveness wise, I'd rather attack again soon rather than go heavily. So I did get 111,000 gold, which was really good for the amount I actually had to deploy. Could have done a little bit better. The base actually wasn't terrible in terms of their layout. As you saw, there were a lot of little buildings I had to get out of the way first. But let's see. So I am finishing up extra giants, which I should cancel out right now, because we actually don't want giants. We want to replace these things. So we can go ahead and do that. Oh no, it's going to finish. No, but totally finished in time. Too bad. Now we'll just have an extra heavy giant army composition, which doesn't really matter, but at the same time it would be nice to have more even. So I shall queue up these guys, and then we can figure out what we're going to do until we are able to attack once again in, it looks like, about 7 minutes. 7 minutes for those two, and this one, it'll be a bit less than 7 minutes. That overfills it, but that's alright. So one thing I wanted to talk about was, once again, defensive strategies. So I've talked about this a little bit before in terms of town hall outside the walls versus inside the walls, but beyond that, there's even different types of sort of overall bases, and you don't really need to think about it when you're making a base. You just make a base and you're like, oh, this mortar would work good here. Oh, and I'll position my walls in this way to slow down units, and okay, I'm done. That's good. So, I mean, that works, but when people do this, they generally end up in one of two camps. So there's the compact and powerful base, which is very hard to 3-star, and then there's the more spread out base, which is very hard to 1-star. And I'm not even talking about town halls at this point. This is like sort of irrelevant compared to what your town hall status is inside or outside the walls. I'm more talking about how well you defend all of your non-combat buildings. So this is a very important lesson actually, because your non-combat buildings are pretty relevant. When you don't have your town hall outside the walls, someone can one-star them by getting 50%, so then you can get defeated in that way. And if you do have your town halls outside the walls, clearly getting one-starred is not your concern, but protecting the resources in your mines and collectors is. So what do these two sort of situations differ, and what do I call them? One like the centralized base that is hard to 3-star. So my bases typically focus on being hard to 3-star. So that means all my defenses are in the center, and they are centralized as much as possible. For example, if I wanted to spread my defenses out more, I would probably put this archer tower here, or this this cannon like here. So you can see how that sort of spreads it out more, and would allow it to protect more of these buildings outside the walls. It would be good against people. It would prevent people from like just deploying singleton archers to pick off buildings. Like for example, you can pick off like this and this and this and this with this one with while this archer tower is upgrading, and this with the archer tower upgrading, and this. And I think maybe even this with only the cannon protecting it. Definitely this. Definitely this barracks. Definitely this barracks. Definitely this. Army camp, definitely this build site. You get the point. There's actually a whole ton in my base you can pick off without taking any damage in return. So just one archer will kill every one of those buildings, one archer per building. So what are the trade-offs of this? Well, it means that I am pretty easy to 1-star. Well, my town hall's outside the walls, so that sort of neutralizes the threat of that. I don't care about 1-starring already. But what does it do in benefit for me? It means that my defenses are more centralized, which means because the cannon and these archer towers are next to each other rather than spread out here and here, that means that they can cover one another and protect each other rather than all of my other buildings. So this is a very important distinction here that I hope you guys all understand and pay close attention to. By having your buildings close together, they can protect one another from actually dying rather than the buildings around them. And while they do still protect the buildings around them, the key is they're protecting one another. And this goes for all of my defenses as well. Generally, by focusing on putting your defenses as close together as possible, you're going to be much harder to 3-star, so that's the benefit. But however, at the same time, you're going to be much easier to 1-star because you're not covering your other things quite as well, because you're not spreading them out. By spreading them out, they're not able to cover one another, so that people are able to focus down your defenses easier. So that's the downside of the spread out side. When your defenses are spread out, they're easier for example, giants to focus down one and then move on to the next, focus down the next, move on to the next, etc., etc., etc. Point is, they're able to focus them down one at a time without taking fire from all the defenses at once. Currently in my base, it's very hard to attack into, say, this bottom right side. Well, you're going to take fire from all over. You're going to take fire from the wizard tower, all 3 mortars, cannons, and archer towers on the sides. If these mortars were more spread out to better protect stuff, you wouldn't take fire from as many of them. If these side ones weren't as spread out, you wouldn't take fire from as many of them as well. You sort of get the point here that I'm trying to make, hopefully, in that this is very important for your overall defense. So this is sort of 2 thoughts of design. Now, there's another way that this can sort of take itself and demonstrate itself. When you see someone whose base is what I call a pocket base, where their defenses are all in wall segments, like especially single wall segments, but also wall segments where there's 2 or 3 defenses in each one, but basically lots of walls separating them. This is good against giants, but it also spreads out your defenses. So it will slow down giants and other infantry, but by spreading out your defenses, it also means that you're easier to 1-star. So I'm actually going to go pull up my other base right now, because it has a good demonstration of this. Need to pull up my clan. It's still laggy after the update, so I wonder if there's a bug in it or if everyone is just hammering the servers. But I'm going to be loading up my main base. I am no longer clan leader of this clan because I simply am doing too much in other things. I have not produced a video in a long time on this account, so I just want to give an update on it and explain sort of how this principle that I'm demonstrating and talking about here actually shows itself. So I have got my defenses very centrally focused. At the same time, my walls are not particularly set up to defend the defenses. They're not in a bunch of small pockets. For example, all these gaps in these walls, well, there are traps in here, but like between the mortar and the elixir, or the cannon and the clan castle, those are all traps. I could fill those in with walls, and that would make my defenses much better against giants, but at the same time, I would rather have the traps in there. What this does is it makes it easier to get into my base because of the lack of walls, but at the same time it also makes it much harder to 3-star because your units will be routed differently. So this is sort of taking the compact base to an even more extreme manner. Because my defenses are all centralized and I'm encouraging your units to be routed in a weird way, I'm basically not even letting you, well, as much as possible, attack into the storages in the center. Or and even more than that, if you attack into, say, from this bottom right and get these 2 storages, it'll be pretty hard to get over here and get both of these as well. It's not that uncommon for me to lose 1 or 2 of my elixirs, or maybe even they attack 2 storages, but it is really uncommon for them to take out everything at once, which is something I definitely benefit from. Okay, let's head home and see how the troop training is going on. It should be nearing completion, and it is done indeed. So I shall queue up some replacements. I don't think we'll be able to attack after this video, at the end of this video once again, but maybe afterwards I can do another episode. We'll see how much time I have. So units are training, and let's just queue a couple archers in this last one as normal, and then head out. So I guess I haven't really looked at what I can now afford with the new increased gold counts that I've stolen. But I honestly don't think it changes that much. I think I'm still going to be upgrading archer towers, cannons, or archer towers or cannons, really is the thing. Alternatively, one option is, if I do break 1,000,000, I could do a Tesla. And I've mentioned in the past why Teslas, I have not sort of focused on them. It's a lot of gold. A good amount of it's going to be in the storages. How can I tell this? Well, immediately looking at the top left, see how it's 250,000 gold and only 100,000 elixir? This means that these numbers are fairly different, which means there's only a maximum of 100,000 elixir in the collectors. That at the same time means there's probably only a maximum of 100,000 gold in the collectors as well, perhaps a bit more. I'll explain why this is as I continue. That means because someone hasn't logged on in that much time, that's they're likely to have it a lot in storages by comparison. And I couldn't break into those storages is sort of why I was doing that. This, however, is a very good base to attack. Not only is a gold count good, it is also a Town Hall 6. So we get to pick on the little guy a little bit and attack into this. So I'm going to first check for clan castle guides, which I do expect, but there are none. Always good. We are a bit heavy on the giants. As I mentioned, 3 extra giants than normal, so I expect a pretty easy time here. Hopefully they'll all focus down the same wall segments just to speed up the process, but with the healer I'm not too concerned about it. Fortunately they are focusing down pretty much the same wall segments. Mortars, not terrible, but could be upgraded better as well, so perhaps this guy's early Town Hall 6. At least his wizard towers have some upgrades to them, so good job to him for that. I'm going to use archers to pick off this cannon down here. Ooh, bombs. Tricky stuff. Traps. Failures. Expensive traps. Yep, so that archer tower, or that cannon's dead. It's good to pick off things that are in like single wall segments like that because, well, your giants will just spend a lot of time breaking into it for only 1 defense, when if archers can do it, it's a lot more cost-effective time-wise to do that. As you can see, when I attack higher-level bases especially, the main issue is actually the time limit. And the 3 minutes is one of our main nemesises when we are attacking, so definitely of concern, the time limit. When attacking Town Hall 6, not quite so as much, but I'm going to deploy heavily here because I am not going to be attacking after this video. Well, most likely not. Not immediately after. I've got to edit and upload that previous attack. which I definitely want to do, so you guys have a video for today. But with only one defense remaining and the goblins already in where the gold storages are, I am not concerned about stealing these resources. I will check the corners though. Nothing there, so this is going to be pretty easy picking up the last bit. We got a lot of infantry already deployed, so no need to deploy last goblins, because I deployed everything else pretty much. And there's the last gold, so 150,000 gold, and ooh, 90,000 short. However, because my builder is still 23 minutes out, this means that I can wait for my mines to collect enough during this time. And by the time 23 minutes has passed, I should have the 10,000 needed in order to start that Tesla that I mentioned. So I think I will be starting my Tesla just after this video in about 20 minutes. So guys, we can look forward to a Tesla and maybe in the next episode, depending on when I record that. So thank you guys very much for watching. I will not be doing an attack in this last video. I will not an attack, a base review. Instead, I want you to tell me how you'd attack my base. Many of you copy my base, so this should be a fun instructional sort of tips for what happens if you run into one of these bases floating around in the wild. You've probably seen a lot of attacks fail against this base, but some of them have done pretty effectively, especially higher levels. So let me know how you'd attack my own base in this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you have not subscribed, please do. If you liked this content and watched this far, you'll probably like all the other videos I upload daily. Beyond that, if you already are subscribed, love you guys very much. And as always, have a great day.